Well, hello and welcome to another episode of a Curiously Good podcast. I'm Noah J. Matthews, and today, author and director Brad Pauquette is joining me to discuss the question: Are Christmas movies any good? Is there a fundamental issue, story wise, with the way we approach holiday themed media? Today's episode is brought to you by Snowboard Girl by Shannon Dunn Downing, the true story of snowboarding's very first U.S. Olympic medalist. Let's dive in. This isn't your granddad's Christian fiction. It's time to find and celebrate the good stuff. The Kingdom Riders who are breaking boundaries and eating stereotypes for breakfast. It's time to show the world what a new generation of Christian writers has to offer. It's time to show them something curiously good. There's curiously good kingdom literature all around us, some of it old, some of it being written as we speak. Welcome to a kingdom-minded conversation for readers. Let's talk about the good, the bad, the holy, the profane. And let's have fun while we do it. So I kind of wanted to talk about movies, specifically since we're near the holidays, Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Like what are some of our favorites, least favorites? You know, it could get very controversial in that regard. Some people hold these movies very, very fondly. But I think it's an interesting discussion because when you have a movie that's holiday themed, often I feel like your priority, if you're the storyteller or even as the viewer, is not necessarily so much as just focusing on just like strictly a good story, but rather you want a certain feeling, you want it to hit certain holiday notes so that it feels like a Christmas movie.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, as I was thinking about this, knowing we were going to talk about this,
Yeah,
we don't always like stories for the right reasons, right?
that's true.
Like, we would love to say we're all discerning viewers and discerning readers, and we like the best stories because they're the best stories. They're the most
Right.
well done, whatever that means to us. But that's really not true. And nowhere is it more not true than with Christmas movies, right?
Yeah.
Where we have other competing interests in what defines whether we say, oh, that was a good movie or not.
True.
And so much of it is even generational, right? Like, I probably have movies that I watched as a kid that I really love, and maybe I'll pass those on to my kids. But if you didn't watch them then and you watch them now, you're like, this is a terrible story, you know?
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, and you're right. I mean, even Christmas aside, like, yeah, a lot of the times we like movies for totally different reasons. Like one of my buddies at work, I sometimes talk about him, with movies and what ones are good and what ones aren't, and his metric is totally different. He's like, Transformers is like the greatest movie that's ever
Yeah.
been, or
Mhm.
like The Dark Knight Rises. And I don't know if you've seen the Batman movies, but
Yeah.
The Dark Knight is a pretty solid story. The Dark Knight Rises is not so solid. It's pretty shaky,
Okay.
especially the third act. There's all kinds of plot twists, logic issues, and things that are just crammed in that really don't serve a story or a meaningful theme.
Yeah.
But he says it's the best movie because he really likes Bane, the character, and everything like that. And so, yeah, it's our preference in stories does kind of come from what means something to us or made us feel a different way or whatever, and not necessarily what is whatever good art.
Yeah, and that for him, that's true, right? That is the best
Right.
story. And it's kind of like tasting wine. So Melissa and I, when we were younger, we would go to like wine tastings and things, and they
Yeah.
teach you all about these different kinds of wines, and teach you the difference between expensive wines and cheap wines. But at the end of the day, you know
Yeah.
what the best kind of wine is?
What?
The kind that you like drinking the best.
Yeah.
And the same is really true for stories, right? Like, yeah, we
Yeah.
can have these high-minded discussions about what makes the best story, and in some sense, be correct about that. But
Right.
nonetheless, like for an individual level, you know what the best story is? The one that you enjoyed watching or reading the
That's
most.
that's true. Yeah, because that's the one that connected with you in whatever way.
And I know I've gone to like see a movie with friends and had like a great time hanging out with my friends, and for that reason, thought the movie was awesome. And
Right.
then later, like, watch the movie, like, with somebody else, like, "You gotta see this movie." and watched it and realized like the movie kind of sucks, right? That's not
Right.
actually what was appealing to me about that time, but like my total experience of the story was different because of who I was with and what else was going on there.
Right. Which I think totally ties into holiday movies because
Yeah.
we oftentimes we watch Christmas movies as like a tradition. Like the whole family is there and there's like ambiance in the background. Sometimes there's snow through the window and there's the
Right.
tree and the lights. So it kind of maybe muddies our perspective then of the actual brass tacks quality
Right.
of this story.
Like when I was growing up, my mom had this taped version of Christmas Vacation.
Okay.
So, like, when I grew up, you would tape like, they'd show movies on TV, and then you tape them, right? And,
Right.
like, if you were good, you'd hit the pause button when the commercial was about to start, so you could cut out the
Ooh.
commercials and everything, right? But my mom liked to do this because she could also cut out the scenes that she didn't like, right?
Oh,
Like
okay.
Christmas Vacation has a couple of scenes, probably more than a couple, that are like pretty inappropriate, right? And it
Right,
also has a
yeah.
lot of language, like if you just go buy the DVD, but the TV version they also dubbed out most of the
Right,
language. So like
exactly.
we had this taped version of Christmas Vacation that we would watch together every year, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, you're right. Like that was like I still think of it as a great movie, and I think that there is still a lot of good
Mhm.
qualities to that movie. But I'm sure a lot of why I love it is just because I remember like being with my mom in particular and
Right.
watching that movie together, and that was good.
Yeah. Which is yeah, that's really neat. Yeah, the whole experience shapes your understanding of it. I know growing up, probably our family's favorite Christmas movie was Elf. We'd
Yeah.
always watch it. We had like we have a pretty extensive DVD collection at my house, lots and lots of discs, but I always remember Elf wasn't in like the regular plastic DVD case like all the others.
Hmm.
It was always with the CDs like up on top of the piano or somewhere, and it was just in like a CD like just clear case, and it was all scratched on the back.
Okay.
But we watched it every year, and it was always funny somehow, even
Yeah.
though we'd seen it so many times.
Yeah. See, that illustrates the generational difference because I like Elf. That came out my freshman year of college. And,
Right.
where I went to college at OU in Athens, Ohio, there's, like, this little movie theater. It's like I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was, like, very retro.
Okay.
Like it had been there for, like, 50 years and never really changed, right?
Yeah.
And so that was, like, the only place to go see movies. And so, my freshman year of college, I remember, like, walking up there in the snow, like, probably sometime in, like,
Oh,
late November or
wow.
December to see Elf, with all your new college friends.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
that was also very cool.
Yeah, that really adds to the ambiance of the experience, trudging through the snow to
Definitely, yeah, and
see
this
a
newfound independence, of, like, being in college, right?
right.
Going to see this children's movie, ironically.
Yeah. It's a pretty solid children's movie though. Like, as I was thinking a little bit about the story, like Elf is a good Christmas movie in the sense that like it has like good character development in not only Buddy but his dad, which is a sort of like I guess would be the main antagonist who
Yeah,
gets sort of defeated by conversion over the course of the story, and base like the story is essentially just about him trying to reconnect with his dad, and Christmas ends up being sort of a backdrop,
mhm.
like it's a big part of Buddy's life, so it helps facilitate that connection and some of the conflict between them. Even though like the themes of the movie aren't about Christmas, Christmas does aid in the character development and the world building.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point in that the driving conflict is Buddy reconnecting with his father.
Yeah.
And I think so many Christmas movies, and in fact, it's like a trope. It's a meme that
Yeah.
about like saving Christmas. Like Family Guy would always one of their tropes that they repeatedly use was like
Yeah.
Kiss saves Christmas, like the band Kiss, right?
Oh.
So like this is like a funny thing because that's so overused, right? Like somebody has
Yeah.
to save Christmas, and when that's the driving conflict, it's just sort of like tired and it feels so
Yeah.
cliche, right? But Elf Buddy does save Christmas, but it's not actually what's driving the plot
Yeah.
forward, right? Like it would change everything, of course, but you could take that same plot of him reconnecting with his father and remove Christmas,
And it's
and you'd still have something of a story there.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the whole like stuff with Santa Claus and rekindling the Christmas spirit. That's like it's a subplot that's I guess more related to like the bigger world that in some ways helps his sort of demonstrate his when his dad gets up finally at the end and sings with everybody, like demonstrates that he has had the character change.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think Wealth does something else that, I'm very much thinking out loud on this with you,
Yeah,
Noah,
yeah, yeah.
right? So I'm not committed to this as like this is a theory,
Right.
but a working theory right now is I
Mhm.
think movies that incorporate Christmas and especially incorporate like Santa Claus mythology
Mhm.
into it, usually the ones we remember also contribute something new to the lore of Santa Claus.
Oh.
So like Elf contributes this, and most modern movies, it's technological that we
Mm.
contribute to Santa Claus,
Right,
right? So in the
right.
case of Elf, his sleigh has this jet engine that is run by the clausometer, right? That
Right.
measures Christmas spirit, that runs off Christmas spirit.
Right.
And that's brand new, right? We've never seen that
Yeah.
before. And so I postulate, happy to be proven wrong, but I postulate
Mhm.
that most stories that really stick in the culture of Christmas put something new into the Santa Claus lore for us to chew on.
Mm. I like that idea. That is interesting because that makes me think of another Christmas story. Again, a comedy with Tim Allen and I forget who plays his wife.
Yeah.
Christmas with the Cranks.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of a different Tim Allen Christmas movie,
Oh, the
but no, you go
okay.
with Christmas with the
Okay,
Cranks.
Christmas with the
Yeah.
Cranks. It's a lot of fun. I really don't remember what like the moral of the story is or anything. It's just really bonkers funny.
Mhm.
But I do remember it very distinctly has this like twist at the end where this old guy who she always bumps into, he doesn't look like Santa Claus. He's just kind of like a, just kind of rough around the edges hobo type of a guy, and he's just always just showing up randomly and helping out. And then at the very end, it shows that his little Volkswagen Beetle is pulled by the reindeer, and he is Santa
Oh,
Claus. So it
okay.
was a cool like twist that more than maybe most of the other stuff of the movie really stuck in my mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. And also, but the same thing is in effect there, that it's a movie that Christmas is integral to the plot, but it's really about something else. Like it's about Tim Allen's character adjusting his values, right?
Right.
Because the
Yeah.
premise is he like looks, he's an accountant or something, and he
Hmm.
looks at how much Christmas costs. And he's like,
Right.
"Hey, do you know we could take this amazing vacation if we just didn't do Christmas?" So he's like, "I'm out. No Christmas cards, no presents, no decorations. We're not doing
Right.
any of it. We're spending elsewhere." And he ultimately learns that he's missing the point and he can't do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
And
is
so it's about his character arc in that, in it just happens to relate to Christmas in that way, but it's about him
exactly.
restoring his values of family and things like that.
Right. Because at the end of the day, a real great Christmas movie is just a great story
Mhm.
that Christmas happens to be integral to in one way or another. But it's a solid story with good characters and a solid theme.
Yeah. Well, and another Tim Allen movie then, The Santa Claus,
Yeah.
uh, checks that box for contributing lore, right?
Yes.
Because it adds this idea of that the Santa Claus is replaced periodically by,
Right.
if the Santa Claus dies at your house, you by default become the next Santa Claus, right? By some
Exactly.
stroke of destiny or something, right? So in addition to having this story about Tim Allen's character resolving his kind of who he is as a single parent, which is the
Yeah.
driving conflict, we also get this lore of this new idea of how we get Santa Claus.
Right. And then it's yeah, which it's new because then it's not relying on any of the like immortality or that he's like some sort of elf or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like it brings like it's sort of like a marvelization of uh of of the Santa Claus myth.
What do you
Where
mean by that?
what I mean by marvelization is in the sense of Stan Lee's like philosophy of superheroes, which is to bring the humanity to these heroes, to
Okay.
make them real people in extraordinary situations,
Mhm.
and that it you most Marvel movies at the end of the day are they're fairly humanistic theme wise of like the power of people to like
Right.
overcome like technology or stuff like that. But I think you have a little bit of that sense of like making Santa Claus very human and accessible through the Santa Claus franchise.
Yeah, that's a great point. I had not thought of that before.
Just came to me right now.
Yeah.
So
When we also see other stories that treat Christmas as like an additional asset to the story,
okay.
which is sort of the next step, like outside of Christmas, right? But that's where when we get to things like Die Hard, right?
Okay. I've not watched Die Hard yet.
Probably for the best, you know.
Okay.
But so Die Hard happens at this Christmas party. There's a Christmas, like an office Christmas party.
Hmm.
Terrorists take over the Christmas party, and John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, has been invited to the Christmas party, and he's also a cop. And so
Right.
the terrorists don't know he's there, and he's able to kill them all one by one,
Wow.
you know, to save his estranged wife from the Christmas party.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have Christmas, and it's somewhat integral to the premise, but at the same
Right.
time, you could remove Christmas. Like we just need some reason to get the office there late at night, right? Everybody in the
Right.
office has to be there late at night, and John McClane has to be there as a guest for some reason. But there are like
Right.
100 other ways that we could do that, but we happen to use Christmas as an
Exactly.
asset. But that really forces the story to stand on its own. And
Yes.
even though Die Hard, we wouldn't consider it like the most amazing story,
Hmm.
as far as like action movies go, it's a good action movie.
Okay.
Like it's a
Yes.
good one, right? So we have like a good story
Hmm.
before we add Christmas, and then we add Christmas as another asset to the package.
Right.
And then we also have like fringe movies where Christmas is just like a part of the setting. Like, I think Iron Man 3, if memory serves right. Like, I think it's Christmas
Yes.
time, but it has no bearing on the plot
No,
whatsoever.
it
But
doesn't.
every once in a while, like, in the background, you'll see, like, something Christmas lights or something like
Yeah.
that.
That rings a bell. Yeah.
And there are a bunch of other movies like that, like Lethal Weapon, where, again, like, there's a Christmas tree in one scene that, like, gets knocked over or something, but it's not at
Right.
all it has no impact, no reason to be Christmas other than that the filmmakers were like, "Hey, maybe we could score some Christmas points." If
Right.
we throw this stuff in
Which are
there.
very real points. They cannot be exchanged for money, but I feel like
Well, as it turns out, they can be, though,
that's true at the box office sometimes. Well, if you're estimating, okay, my movie is gonna come out around the holidays, just sneak in Christmas in one scene,
Mhm.
then we just put that on the poster for the theaters, and maybe you'll attract some more people. I don't
Now,
know.
question for you, Noah,
Okay.
you specifically,
Yeah.
Narnia. Where does it belong
Oh,
in this spectrum?
where does it belong in the spectrum? That is a good question. Okay, if we're talking about the Narnia movie, all right,
Okay. Yeah,
the,
let's do
the
that.
movie.
Let's
We'll
do
start
that.
with the movie. Movie is not a Christmas movie,
Okay,
even though
but
there's
Santa
snow.
Claus is in it.
Santa Claus is in it. It would be, I
He
guess,
gives Christmas presents.
he does give Christmas presents. So in that way, it would be probably on the same tier as like Die Hard because the Christmas element it serves some thematic bearing, and it's like the plot point that needs to be served is the kids need to get weapons because they're defenseless
Yeah,
against this enemy. And it could have been anyone, but C.S. Lewis decided to make it Santa
it was Santa
Claus.
because they do need the weapons. Those are integral to the
Yes,
plot.
those are they use them many times.
So in some ways, it's kind of Deus ex Santa Claus, right? Like
Yes.
he just shows up randomly. There's no pretense or premise for why Santa is there.
Yes.
Um,
There's a little bit, if you want to argue and defend Narnia a little
let's
bit.
do it.
There's from the first time Lucy goes into Narnia and she's talking with Mr. Tumnus, she learns that in Narnia it's always winter but never Christmas.
Shouldn't that be an argument against Santa Claus being there?
Well, it means at some point he must have been there. I think
Okay,
I think
okay.
they mentioned him maybe. So he serves as being he's not very important. He's in some ways like a Tom Bombadil of Narnia
Yeah.
because Tom Bombadil, I mean, he gets them out of some scrapes and
But Santa Claus is purposeful to the plot.
yes.
We already
Yeah,
determined that.
I think the filmmakers were correct in cutting Tom out of the story. Very controversial opinion. I'm sorry.
How could that be a controversial opinion? Tom Bombadil has nothing to do with any. This is the weirdest part of the Lord of the
Mm-hmm.
Rings.
And if I was talking about Tom Bombadil actually with my dad when we were up for Thanksgiving, where we got 2 feet of snow over the weekend. That's Michigan for you. Um, but anyways, we are talking about Tom Bombadil, and my dad said like when you read some of his letters, people were asking him like, "So who is Tom Bombadil? Like, what's the whole deal?" Toki's just like, "I liked him," and that's like. That's correct. That's the reason why Tom is in there.
I think that's probably. Oh man, I'm going somewhere
I
we
know.
shouldn't now.
It's
But
dangerous.
so I'll stop. But actually, some people speculate that Tom Bombadil is Tolkien. That
Okay.
is him inserting himself into the story.
I could see that. He inserts himself into Middle Earth a lot.
Mhm.
There's for people who are real nerds and have read the Silmarillion, the Beren and Luthien legend, which was one of Tolkien's earliest written legends about Middle Earth, is supposed to be based on him and his wife, like a romanticization of their relationship. And so on their
Oh.
tombstone, it says Beren and Luthien.
Oh
Right
wow.
underneath each so yeah, he was committed.
Yeah, he went full.
Yeah, total nerd.
Yeah, full lore on that one. Wow,
Yeah,
cool.
so
I mean, own it, right? Own
mhm.
it. Know what you like and go for it.
Yeah, yeah, so
Back to Christmas
but
though.
back to Christmas, yeah. Another movie that I watched recently that sorta got me really thinking about Christmas movies and their value. This one is also okay, my opinions are about to be controversial
Let's do
on
it.
this movie. I'm so sorry. The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is both a Halloween movie and a Christmas movie.
Hmm.
Very many people watch it on both holidays. You
I
know,
did not know this.
yeah, that's what Lucy told me, anyways,
Okay,
and I believe her.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never seen it,
Okay,
so I know what it is. I mean, Tim Burton, right?
yeah, Tim Burton. So,
And it came out when I was a kid. I don't know. It
hmm
probably came out like 95, 96 or something. I was probably like 10 or 11 years old.
yeah,
And I was not allowed to go see it because, the previews looked scary. And
yeah,
also my parents, growing up a Christian household, they were pretty sensitive about like taking advantage of Christmas. So like
yeah,
they were afraid of what the messaging of the Nightmare Before Christmas might be.
yeah.
So I never watched it then, and apparently I've never watched it since either.
Okay. Well, then I'll
So you'll have to
I'll
tell me
explain the
what you
premise really
mean.
quick
Yeah.
for anyone. Well, I also grew up, in a Christian household, so we never watched it. I'd never even heard of it till I came out here. But basically, the premise is, uh, you have different towns for each holiday: Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all of it,
Mhm.
and they're all they have portals to each of them. Anyways, Halloween Town, there's this main character, Skeleton Jack,
Okay.
and he feels unfulfilled in his life. He's the best scarer ever. But he's unfulfilled, and so he accidentally stumbles upon Christmas Town. He's like, "This is the greatest thing ever. Let's do this." So he tries to, using scientific experiments, tries to analyze what is the true meaning of Christmas. Like, what is it that makes this thing work?
Yeah.
You know, and he can't figure it out. And so instead, he decides, let's rebrand Christmas as Halloween. And so instead of doing Halloween this year and Christmas, let's just put them together. And so then he, kidnaps Santa Claus, and they, give horrendous, horrifying gifts to all the children, severed limbs and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's a whole disaster. And then eventually he comes to his senses and they fix it. And then he like kisses this girl who's been in love with him the whole time. That's the end of the story. There's not really a theme. It's so it's an interesting movie because as I'm following it, you're trying to like Jack is our main character, and he's trying to find the true meaning of Christmas. Like, what makes this holiday work? Halloween seems unfulfilling. Christmas seems better,
Right.
and he just can't figure it out, and he
Yeah.
never does. The movie ends with the only reason we feel at all happy at the end of the movie was because finally he figured out that this girl liked him. she's been liking him the whole movie and he's just totally ignored her. So that's the
Wow.
only reason why the end of the movie feels satisfying. But thematically, it builds and builds and then just peters out, you
That's
know,
interesting. Yeah.
because it's as if, you know, the story is looking for the real meaning of Christmas.
And doesn't find it.
It has no idea where it comes from. So, I talked with Lucy, and she said she likes it because it's like it shows how Christmas is unfulfilling without the Christ story, which is sort of where the movie leads you, but it doesn't point you in that direction.
Right.
It just leaves you with nothing, which is interesting. And so I would say it's not a very good Christmas movie.
That's interesting, and I think that's something to consider from a kingdom literature
Mhm.
perspective. Because speaking of Lucy, she and I just discussed The Good Earth by Pearl S. Buck,
Okay, yeah.
which she read as part of her apprenticeship here at the company.
Love that book.
And I love it too. And I feel that it's kingdom literature,
Yeah.
but it doesn't point to Jesus at all.
That's
Instead,
true.
it shows you like Wang Lung, who is this Chinese guy, is the main
Yeah.
character. He achieves the most you can achieve without Jesus. And he
Right.
dies totally unfulfilled. And his kids aren't gonna spoilers, his kids aren't gonna honor his values and his wishes, right?
Yeah.
But that's like he achieves the pinnacle of what he was after from being a
Right.
young poor man. And so in that way, we see like an illustration of some of Jesus's parables about
Yeah.
gathering wealth, right? And storing up treasure in heaven, but it never provides the answer. It doesn't say, so therefore, here's another example with Jesus. So
Right.
it almost sounds similar in that regard of like
Yeah.
it only shows the negative side. So
Yeah.
what is the value of that? And how do we make sure that we connect the dots, or do we need to make sure we
Right.
connect the dots? Are we allowed to do that as storytellers?
Yeah. That is a good point. And you're right. The Good Earth is in that sense. It's a tragedy. When you get to the end, you feel heavy,
Yeah.
but it's like good because it makes you think.
So is this a tragedy though? I guess is a good
Yes,
question.
that's why where I guess that's actually the real sense in which I think that A Nightmare Before Christmas actually fails is because at the end it uses its tiny little romantic subplot to save us in the final song.
Right.
But like, so everybody's happy and everything, and so you think that something has been achieved, but in reality, nothing has been achieved.
So it's sort of like Christmas is meaningless, but that's okay because I got the girl.
Kind of, but he wasn't
Yeah.
looking for the girl or anything. It's a little
Yeah.
bit random in that sense. The plot is not maybe a little bit of and then sort of storytelling.
Hmm.
So it's in that sense, I think, not the strongest story.
And I think it got major points because of the animation style,
Oh,
right? And the effects and things.
it's excellently crafted, and Tim Burton always it's so wacky. It's like I think of him, he's like a dark Dr. Seuss of
Yeah.
like there's no straight lines. It's all like crooked and kind of whimsical, but also like creepy.
Yeah.
And I can understand why you were not able to watch it as a kid. It's a little bit creepy. Like I don't know, in the 90s and early 2000s, PG movies were a different animal
You think
than they
so?
than they are now, I think.
Okay.
You could get more leeway with a PG movie. You could in like a teenager or an adult could really enjoy a PG movie where I feel like now, I mean, I don't even see any PG movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Wicked was and that did incredibly well, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
I'll have to explore. I'll have to observe that in the future. See
Yeah.
what I see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have classics like Narnia. All the Narnia movies are PG, but they're like fantasy action films that,
Yeah.
they just have no blood. So, people get cut and they just don't bleed. It's just
Right.
it's sort of how it goes.
So statistically, there are a lot of audiences that won't watch PG movies. Like if a movie is rated PG, they're just not interested. So
Yeah.
that's why a lot of movies pay attention. You'll see that a movie that could otherwise be PG, they'll drop one instance of the F word right in some scene it doesn't need to be in, because
Right.
that's automatically going to bump it into the PG-13 category.
Right.
One F word is all it takes
Yeah.
to get the PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
And so you'll see that they've intentionally manipulated the ratings to get that PG-13
Yeah.
rating.
It's also interesting of like other sort of stories where that I've also observed where they would otherwise be PG-13, but they're like R or MA, like for if it's TV, that's the same thing.
Yeah.
Is they just because PG is allowed, but PG-13, sorry, is allowed a good amount of swearing, but is only licensed one F word,
Okay,
one
right.
instance
Yeah.
of. So all you have to do is two,
Right.
and then you keep it in MA depending on just which audience you're marketing it to,
Right.
which is interesting and usually unnecessary because it's like I feel like the story should come first. Um, yeah,
But it goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning.
yeah,
Audiences don't always like things for the right reasons.
that's true.
And like it or not, audiences go into any story, whether it's a book or a movie, with
Hmm.
certain expectations. Like that's why your book cover is more important than you think
Yeah.
when you're an author.
Hmm.
Is like that shapes somebody's expectation for their story about they're about
Yeah.
to read. And the rating that it gets, whether it's on TV or MPAA, shapes our expectation of the
Uh,
story. We perceive it differently because we went into a movie knowing it was
right.
PG-13 or PG or R or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, because if like in terms of marketing and tone, like if a movie is rated R, then we think, oh well, it's gonna be serious. Like this is for
Right.
adult. I'm gonna be able to think a little. It'll have some high-minded stuff or whatever in it. But if it's PG-13, oh well, then it's probably just an action movie or whatever.
Mhm.
When it could have been PG, but it was deeper. So they're like, well, to capitalize on that fact, we just got to make it R,
Yeah, right, right.
which is interesting. And you know,
Well, and to tie this back into Christmas
right?
movies, last year I watched Red One. Did you
Oh
see that
yeah,
one?
I didn't. I wanted to. You told me about it a little bit.
And it was interesting because it was so close to being like this fun Santa Claus type adaptation of a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So it builds new lore into the
Mm-hmm.
Santa legend. So it kind of checks that box. It's all holiday themed. It checks that box.
Right.
It's family friendly in the way that it's funny. There's some action, but it's not over the top.
Right.
However, they the storytellers just insisted on pushing the content boundaries. So
Mm.
like it was so close to me being like I watched it by myself, I think, like thinking, oh, I should watch this with my kids tomorrow, some of my
Right.
older kids at least, like 10 to
Mm-hmm.
15 years old. But they just drop so much language in where it's unnecessary to the plot. It's not even necessary to the character development.
Right.
And then there's a couple scenes with just like women in bikinis and like gratuitous skin that
Right.
again like doesn't serve the plot, isn't really necessary to what the
Mm-hmm.
story is trying to do. And that was a really curious decision to me
Yeah.
because in every other way they're putting this forward as like, here's a good Christmas movie to watch with your family.
Right.
And it kind of forces me as a parent into this position of like the cost of showing my kids this movie and having a fun time watching this
Yeah. Yeah.
movie is that I have to expose them to these elements. In particular, the skin bothered me
Yeah.
that I don't I'm not I have to decide, is it worth that cost? Like, am I gonna
Yeah.
have this fun experience at that cost or not? And so I
Right.
chose no,
Right.
for my family. But it was interesting in that regard. Like it didn't seem like they're trying to age up the movie, right? Like they're trying to
Right.
make it for adults. That doesn't jive with the whole story and everything that's
Right.
going on. It seemed instead like they're making a family movie, but just like almost intentionally, pigeonholing
Yeah.
you into accepting a little bit of moral relativism in the
Right.
process of it.
Yeah, which is interesting. I think, and I believe it was rated PG-13.
I
I
think
think
so.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, it is interesting that choice because historically, I believe PG-13's movies tend to do best in the box office because you can attract the most adults and teens
Sure.
and children, and so they probably were like since it was the most expensive movie, I believe, of 2023, 2024. I forget which year it was.
Yeah, I believe
It
that.
was like, it was the most expensive movie of the whole year. And so they wanted to make that money back, I guess. And for some reason, they decided that the answer was to make it PG-13, when probably it might have even done even better as just PG.
I would argue that in that case it would have. And I
Probably.
think it was straight to streaming anyways.
It went in the theaters for a couple weeks.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Was it like one of those releases where they do them almost simultaneously then?
I think so. I
Okay.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to capitalize. I don't know. Streaming is its own animal, but that's a discussion for another time, I
That is
guess.
absolutely. And sometime we need to talk about second screening. I don't know if you've heard
Second.
of that.
No, what
All
is
right.
that?
Well, we don't have time. We
Okay,
don't
we
have
don't
time
have
for
time
that.
for
No,
all
let's
that.
not get crazy here.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
We can do this again, and then I'll have even more proof that I have a cool friend.
Yes, exactly. And I'll have proof that I have a cool friend.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I think as we've been talking, at the end of the day, what makes for a great Christmas movie is a movie that does prioritize story, but also has those Christmas elements that are, integral in some way to the plot or the backdrop, and enhance an already good story.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
And like, sure, like there's nothing wrong with watching a Christmas movie just because it's Christmassy. Even if the plot isn't whatever. Because at the end of the day, we like the movies that we like, not necessarily because they're the best art or not.
Yeah. Is it okay if I like a movie just because I used to watch it with my mom?
Yeah, I think so.
That's good news.
Yeah, yeah. What if I'd said no?
I don't know. I'd have to rethink a lot of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be crazy. Well, Brad, it's been amazing talking with you for this hour that we've gotten to sit down and talk about movies. I can't wait to do this again. I love talking about movies, Christmas or not, well made or not. Film is such a unique and beautiful medium that I try to appreciate as much as I can. Speaking of beautiful mediums, books are also a great medium that God has and will continue to use for his kingdom. Today's sponsor, coincidentally, happens to be a book, Snowboard Girl by Shannon Dunn Downing. From the back of the book, the untold story of snowboarding's first U.S. Olympic medalist and the legacy she carved for women in the sport and beyond. She didn't just ride into history, she helped rewrite it. Before snowboarding had coaches or Olympic medals, Shannon Dunn Downing was chasing snow, chasing dreams, and unknowingly reshaping the future of the sport for women. In Snowboard Girl, she shares her personal journey through snowboarding's most defining decade, the 90s, with laugh out loud road trip stories, breakthrough contests, and the raw truth of what it really took to rise in a sport that didn't always make room for women. Faced with injuries, industry politics, and the pressure to prove herself, Shannon turned obstacles into opportunity, breaking barriers with courage, faith, and fearless creativity. From designing the first women-specific snowboard products to landing tricks no woman had done before, she became the first U.S. woman to win an Olympic snowboarding medal, carved her way into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, and even has her signature board on display at the Smithsonian. Honest, humorous, and deeply inspiring, this is the story of a true icon who isn't done writing her legacy, and a bold reminder to anyone chasing a dream. You were meant to dream big, carve your own path, and live courageously. I had the incredible privilege of doing the interior book design for Shannon's book. And not only is her story warming and unique, it's also funny and astoundingly well written. Head over to Amazon now and pick up your own copy. And that wraps up things for today. Till next time, I'm Noah J. Matthews, and this is a Curiously Good podcast. You made it this far, so make sure you're liking, subscribing, and commenting. For a weekly dose of Curiously Good literature, hop over to the Pearl at pearlmag.co and make sure you subscribe. Just by listening, you're contributing to Better Kingdom Media. To sponsor an episode, email us at advertise@pearlmag.co. We'll catch you later.